Have you ever felt like you're watching your life more than living it? Like you're constantly checking in? Am I aligned? Am I present? Am I doing it right? But somehow, even with all this awareness, you're still in the same place. The same patterns, the same loop. They taught you to monitor every thought, to observe every feeling, to fix yourself through discipline, vigilance, and more inner work. They said, the more conscious you are, the faster you'll evolve. But what if that idea is the very thing keeping you stuck? Because here's the truth no one told you. Observing is not the same as embodying. You can watch yourself for years and never actually change. You can become so good at witnessing your triggers, your wounds, your reactions, that you forget how to simply be the version of you that no longer needs to perform healing. It's like standing in a room full of mirrors. Every move you make, you see yourself again, from a different angle, a different light, but it's still you, still the same image, and you start confusing reflection with evolution. Science saw this first. In quantum physics, there's an experiment that changed everything. The double-slit experiment. Particles, when not observed, exist in infinite potential, but the moment they're watched, they collapse into one outcome, one version. Observation creates limitation. Your gaze, even when it's full of spiritual intention, locks the pattern in place. And you've felt this. You become more aware, but not more free. You understand your story better, but you're still inside it. You talk about the shift, but you're waiting to feel it, still scanning for signs that it's here. But what if the shift doesn't come from seeing more? What if the shift begins the moment you stop needing to see? Because that's when you become the signal. That's when the observer loop collapses, and a new field opens. A new you begins, not by watching, but by vibrating. And that's what we're here to uncover. In this video, you'll learn why spiritual hyper-awareness is silently blocking your quantum leap, and how to dissolve the loop from the inside out. You'll see how your energy responds, not to how hard you focus, but to how deeply you surrender. And most of all, you'll remember the version of you who no longer needs to look, to know. If this theme is calling you, then subscribe now and walk with me through this discovery, but do it now. Don't let this moment pass quietly. Now we're going to expose the invisible trap of what I call self-observation mode and why it feels so right. While keeping you stuck in the exact same energetic timeline, let's pull back the curtain. Because what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? Not in your past, not in your future, but in the habit you thought was helping you evolve. Let's talk about self-observation mode. You probably know the feeling. That moment where you catch yourself mid-reaction, mid-thought, mid-pattern, and you stop to witness it. You try to track the source, understand it, heal it, reframe it, and on the surface, that seems conscious, right? But here's what no one tells you. Sometimes, the more you observe yourself, the more you reinforce the very self you're trying to transcend. Because every time you pause to notice your old pattern, your attention, your precious life energy is confirming that this version of you still matters, still deserves focus, still gets airtime in your body, your emotions, your field. It's like trying to stop a song from playing by replaying it one more time to study the lyrics. You're not breaking the loop, you're amplifying the track. Here's the process. The mind loves to feel in control of transformation. It wants to understand, label, track progress, but your transformation is not an equation. It's not happening inside your intellect. It's happening in your nervous system, in your frequency, in the silent agreements you make with the present moment. Pause now, breathe, and feel that. Feel how often you default into observer mode out of fear. Fear of slipping, fear of missing something, fear of being unconscious. But hyper-consciousness is still fear in disguise. The truth is, the observer loop was a training ground. It served you. It gave you awareness, but now it's become a ceiling you didn't know was there. You've outgrown it, and now it's time to stop watching yourself and start inhabiting your new timeline. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine walking into a theater. The stage is lit, the scene is set, and instead of stepping into the role, you sit in the front row, observing, analyzing, judging your performance before it even begins. You never actually live the part. That's what spiritual observation mode can become. You mistake watching yourself for becoming yourself. You think understanding your pattern is the same as dissolving it, but observation is still distance, and distance delays transformation. You've seen this before, you just didn't know how to read it. You knew something felt stuck even as you became more aware. Now you know why. And if this awareness stirred something inside you, leave your mark in the comments below. Maybe the word is release. Maybe it's presence. Maybe it's freedom. Just one word, one energy, one shift. Let's go even deeper. We'll dive into what actually dissolves the observer loop, and why surrender is not weakness, but the most intelligent energy move you can make in the quantum field. What actually ends the observer loop? You don't end a loop by trying harder to get out. You end it by stepping off the track entirely, and that's the part no one teaches, because we've been conditioned to think that change only happens through control, through effort, through constant analysis. But the moment you stop trying to catch yourself is the moment something ancient in you begins to move. You don't need to fix the version of you that's looping. You need to stop feeding it attention, because attention is creation. Observation is energy. And energy always expands what it touches. Let me explain. There is a moment, and it's subtle, where the loop invites you back in. That little voice that says, check how you're doing. That impulse to pause and track your vibration. It feels wise, it feels spiritual, but underneath, it's anxiety. It's your system trying to keep you safe in the known, even if the known is pain. You dissolve the loop not by resisting it, but by outgrowing the need for it. Pause for a moment. Feel your body. Notice how different it is to drop from the head into the frequency. This is where it starts. You're not here to manage your old self like a lifelong project. You're here to remember the part of you that doesn't need to be managed, the part that exists outside of strategy, outside of performance, outside of loops. Let me give you a metaphor. The caterpillar doesn't observe itself into becoming a butterfly. It surrenders into the cocoon, dissolves into nothing, and allows the new code to rebuild the form. That surrender, that letting go of identity, that's the real alchemy. And yet, it's the hardest thing for the ego to do, because the ego is built on observation. It wants to survive. It wants a role. It wants a job to do. So when you stop watching, the ego panics. It fears becoming irrelevant. But here's the shift. It's not about killing the ego. It's about showing it a new role, where it no longer needs to monitor, because the body has become the signal. This is not a mental exercise, it's a vibrational transition, from control to coherence. We're not talking about bypassing awareness. We're talking about allowing awareness to become integration, because once you've seen the loop for what it is, you don't need to keep watching it. You just need to stop dancing with it. And in that stillness, a new path opens. Now we're going deeper. We'll bring in the science, the neuroscience that explains why your brain keeps the loop alive, and how your biology can be trained to respond not to the past, but to the signal of your next becoming. Let's ground this now, not just in energy, but in biology, because this isn't just spiritual language. It's neuroscience, it's somatics, it's chemistry. Your body remembers, your brain wires, and the loop is real. When you engage in constant self-observation, your brain builds pathways around that habit. The more you check in, the more your nervous system anchors itself in surveillance, and what begins as spiritual discipline becomes neurological addiction. You're not addicted to the pattern, you're addicted to tracking it. Let me break this down. Every time you monitor your thoughts, scan your vibration, or mentally track your healing progress, your brain releases neurochemicals, dopamine, cortisol, even adrenaline. That cocktail creates a feeling of doing something, like you're in charge, like you're evolving. But what's actually happening? You're reinforcing the neural pathway of hypervigilance. You're teaching your body to associate growth with effort, tension, and inner pressure. It's like putting your foot on the gas while holding the brake. You're revving energy without going anywhere, and over time, the body stops trusting stillness. It starts to believe that unless you're watching, something will go wrong. But healing doesn't happen under pressure. Transformation isn't a performance, it's a nervous system state. Your biology responds to safety, to coherence, not to overthinking. Pause now and feel this. What does your system do when you stop tracking yourself? Does it relax or does it panic? That moment, that reaction, is the edge of your old identity. Because your nervous system was trained in a world that told you safety comes from being alert, from being prepared, from being vigilant. But the quantum doesn't respond to vigilance, it responds to resonance. When your body feels safe, your frequency expands. And when your frequency expands, new timelines become biologically available. Let me give you a modern image. It's like trying to update your software while the program is still running in the background. You think you're upgrading, but the old code keeps rebooting. You have to shut the loop down, and that means trusting your nervous system enough to live without checking. Because every time you check, you tell your biology, we're not there yet. And so, you're not. But what if your body could become the proof? What if feeling safe in the unknown was the most advanced spiritual technology you've ever practiced? Let that land. We're going now to explore the true moment where the shift happens, the energetic breakpoint where the loop ends and a new signature takes over. This is where the embodiment begins, the energetic breakpoint. There's a moment, and it's not dramatic, not loud, not even clear at first, where something inside of you just lets go. You stop trying to fix the old. You stop negotiating with the loop. You stop proving you've changed. And in that stillness, a new frequency enters. It doesn't announce itself. It just is. Quiet, stable, whole. This is the energetic breakpoint, where the signal of your next timeline becomes stronger than the echo of your last. And it doesn't happen in your thoughts. It happens in your field. You'll know you're there not because you feel euphoric, but because you feel neutral. Not numb, but steady. There's no tension to maintain the shift, no fear that it will disappear, no need to talk about it. It just clicks. Let me give you a symbolic image. It's like walking through a dense fog, searching for a door you've only heard about, and suddenly, without effort, your hand finds the doorknob. You didn't manifest it through control. You arrived there through resonance. That's what surrender does. It calibrates you to the version of reality that doesn't require effort to access. It only requires coherence. Let me say this clearly. You don't collapse the observer loop by becoming more aware. You collapse it by becoming the version of you who no longer needs to loop. And that version already exists. It's the you who moves from knowing, not from watching. The you who speaks from frequency, not from theory. The you who acts from wholeness, not from recovery. When this becomes your signal, your life doesn't just change. It reorganizes itself around you because you've stopped chasing alignment. You've become it. Take a moment, breathe that in. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. You are the kind of soul that's not just seeking answers. You're living the questions. You're shifting not just your mind, but your entire field. Leave a trace of that in the comments. Have you ever touched this moment, this subtle break in the pattern? Tell us. Your story could be the permission someone else needs. And if you feel this resonance, join our community. Subscribe now and keep walking with us. We're just getting started, because we're going to unlock the full embodiment, what it truly means to live beyond the observer, and how to stay there even when old habits try to pull you back. Living beyond the observer, even when old patterns resurface. Let's get real. Even after the shift, the loop may whisper. Old neural pathways don't just vanish overnight. They echo. They test your signal. They try to call you back into observation mode. And here's the mistake most people make. They panic. They think, wait, I thought I was done with this. Why is this showing up again? But that reaction itself is the hook. Because the pattern only needs your attention to survive. And your fear is attention. Living beyond the observer isn't about never having old thoughts again. It's about no longer assigning them authority. They appear and dissolve. No analysis, no engagement, just frequency stability. Deshmi darum exemplu. Imagine you're in a new home. It's peaceful, beautiful. Everything about it feels like you. But one day a letter arrives, addressed to the old resident. It's not yours. It's not for you. Do you stop and panic? Do you question if you really live there? No. You just return it to sender. That's how you treat old thought forms now. They are mail for a version of you that no longer lives here. This is where real embodiment begins. When your nervous system is so regulated, so safe in its current identity, that nothing old can trick you back into proving you've changed. And that kind of embodiment doesn't shout. It's quiet. It's not desperate for validation. It's not seeking signs. It is the sign. And if the loop does reappear, you meet it with grace. You meet it with stillness. You don't react. You don't explain. You just remain rooted, present, unmoved. This is how you anchor a new timeline, not by effort, but by emotional neutrality, by holding the signal, not chasing the outcome, by knowing that who you've become is real, even if your old echo still tries to speak, and that changes everything. Let's go even deeper. We'll uncover what it looks like when your external reality finally begins to match your internal frequency, and how to move through the transition with clarity, power, and calm. When reality mirrors the shift. Here's the moment we've been building toward, that subtle yet undeniable click in your outer world. The moment your internal shift starts showing up as your external experience. But let's clear something up. Reality doesn't change because you forced a better mindset. It reorganizes itself because your field no longer carries the frequency of the past. And when the field shifts, form obeys. This is not about affirmations, not about hustle. It's about resonance. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So what happens when you are no longer feeding the observer loop? When your nervous system is no longer addicted to self-tracking, but resting in deep coherence? Here's what happens. People start responding to you differently, even if you say nothing. Opportunities feel less like effort and more like alignment. Patterns that used to trigger you just pass through like wind against a mountain. And most importantly, you stop searching for confirmation that you've shifted. Because your life begins to reflect it without your permission. Let me give you a modern symbol. It's like upgrading your Wi-Fi router. You don't need to shout across the house anymore. Your connection is clear, constant, and silent. Things just download faster. That's what happens when your frequency stabilizes. You become more signal, less noise. But here's where most people slip. They see reality begin to shift, and they try to protect the shift. They tighten up, they overmanage. They go back to watching themselves again, just to make sure it's working, and the loop starts all over again. But not you, not anymore. You're learning to let reality respond to you without micromanaging it. You're letting the mirror do what it's built to do, reflect, not define. You've become the source, and the reflection is just catching up. Let that integrate. We'll seal this journey with the energetic truth that holds it all together. We'll explore what it really means to live beyond the loop. As a creator, not a survivor, you are no longer the watcher, you are the wave. This is where it all leads, not to more tools, not to another version of self-observation, but to the end of needing to watch yourself at all. You've become something different now, not a seeker of shifts, but the source of them, not a manager of energy, but a broadcaster of it, not a watcher of waves, but the wave itself. This is the moment where the loop is truly over, not because you broke it, but because you became too coherent, too complete, to loop. You're no longer waiting for signs. You are the sign. You're no longer chasing alignment. You are the alignment. And the beauty. There's no strain in it, no checklist, no performance, just this subtle, powerful, undeniable knowing in your body. I am no longer tracking, I am now transmitting. From this point forward, you don't need to maintain the shift. You just stay in signal, and life builds itself around that. Let this truth anchor in your system. The observer loop ends when your identity no longer depends on the observation. You've crossed the threshold. You've remembered who you are. Now, build your life from that place. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this path with such depth, presence, and integrity. Thank you for being part of this field where transformation is no longer performance but embodiment. Leave a comment below if this message moved something inside you. Let me know you're here. Let others feel your presence. Hit like, subscribe, and join the next video in this journey, because the next layer is calling, and we're discovering it together. Because here's the truth, the reality begins where your old pattern ends. If you felt that, then this path is yours, and this community is where you belong.